We have seen a lot of violence in our country lately, several mass shootings just in the last week or so alone, and it can be hard to talk about this as adults, and it can certainly be hard to talk about this with kids who struggle with this news too. Some may even be on edge because of the things that they're hearing. So joining us to talk more about that aspect of this, the mental health aspect, is Dr. Brad Schwall, the president and CEO of the Center for Integrative Counseling and Psychology. Dr. Schwall, you've been on with us so many times, and thanks for again being on with us today. This seems different this time when we talk about something like this, especially being, as I said, that this is the latest mass shooting that we have seen. It seems like we've just seen such a stretch of them here lately.
Yes, there definitely is heaviness, thinking about children, thinking about our own children all through the day, even thinking about our therapists here at the center who are thinking about the tragedy, the trauma, while they're helping people deal with their own personal tragedies and challenges as they seek to grow and to heal. And I've heard of children talking about their sadness, and something about mental health now is that we are talking about it more. So on the one hand, we want to protect our kids from images and from certain aspects of tragedy and trauma. On the other hand, they are going to be talking about it, and it is important to help them be aware of their feelings.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be talking about it. They're going to be hearing about it from other students. They're going to be seeing it on social media, perhaps seeing it on TV, and they're going to go to school in a lot of these districts, like we just talked about, Dr. Schwall, that are increasing police presence. And so all of those things, you know, can get into the mind of a child. How do you talk to your kids about something like this, though, if you can't even hardly make it through several minutes of this coverage without bursting into tears yourself?
Absolutely. Well, we always say to focus on those who are there to help. Certainly, our responses involve what can we do, as well as just that deep emotion and sadness and grief. So we help our kids by protecting them, but letting them take their lead and letting them talk about what they're thinking about, what they're wondering about. Also helping them know what to expect. So letting them know, okay, at school we may see more security, but that is because your school is working to keep you safe. And so there is that larger issue, though, of the fact that life is unpredictable. And so our presence with our kids and even thinking about that presence for those in Uvalde who are suffering is so key. There's not always a lot we can do in the moment, but compassion helps us. I know many churches, many faith communities are gathering to pray. And so certainly those activities can be healing.
I want to ask you about how involvement helps the mind as well. We know that some people have been, wanting to get involved politically on some of the issues that have come out of this. We know that people have wanted to perhaps contribute to GoFundMe accounts for the people who've been affected by this, or to donate blood or other things. How much does it help, or maybe even just to go to a school board meeting to see if you can affect policy in your individual school district? How much does that help to actually do something, to feel moved to do something? How much does that help your psychology, essentially, after something like this?
It does help. We're looking for something that we can control, but we can channel that into positive influence. And one way to break down just the overwhelming nature of this tragedy is to think about our own sphere of influence. So when we talk about mental health, and it's very difficult to make correlations and to understand how mental health impacts so many aspects of behavior, but bottom line, we know that we need to create communities that are supportive, that make mental health care accessible, that are focused on measures within the community that can help keep people safe. And so I do think that effort does help us in healing for sure. So the question is, what can I do in my sphere of influence to be compassionate, to be caring, and that is something that we need to do consistently. We need to do intentionally, and that creates healthier communities.
I think if nothing else, Dr. Schwall, this also, makes us maybe not only appreciate our own kids even more, but also to appreciate other children and the preciousness of life and teachers and law enforcement, all of these people who were in the center of this. It just makes you appreciate people a little bit more because, it could have been anybody's kids in that classroom. It could have been anybody's loved one who was a teacher in that classroom or who had to respond to that shooting yesterday.
Yes, and it's okay to say, I just don't understand. And sometimes by admitting what is so hard to grasp, by admitting that we are sad, that helps us heal. So we need not ignore that emotion. And then we can channel that emotion into caring for our own kids. And when they do share about their feelings, encouraging that, being open to them sharing. We don't want to say, oh, don't feel that way. We instead want to say, it's understandable that you're sad. I am sad. And showing our own emotion models that communication about feelings. So by validating that emotion, we're helping them gain awareness. We're helping them be able to identify their feelings. And though basic, that is important to developing mental wellness. We talk about mental illness. We need to talk about how to be well. And so, yes, by this evening, hugging our kids, talking to them, we are putting into action what we can in response to such tragic loss and thinking about that community, those parents, those teachers, those kids. It's so hard to imagine.
Good point that we want to let ourselves be sad right now. The last thing we want to do is normalize this to the point to where we become numb when it happens. Brad Schwall,
Yes.
President and CEO of the Center for Integrative Counseling and Psychology. Thanks as always for being on with us today to sort through these things, Dr. Schwall.
Thank you.
Well, we know